Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to the next episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And I'm very excited to have today's guest, Josh Reeves, on with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about some experiences and the BPO space and just a lot of stuff I think we're going to get into. But before we do that, Josh, welcome. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our viewers who may not already know you, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what are you up to these days?
Sure, I'll do that. Before I do, I want everybody to really take notice of our backdrops today as we're both in our kitchens having coffee together. So you can even
Yes.
do this virtually and make sure you stay connected. Um, I'm a 25-year veteran of the BPO space. I make jokes all the time that I'm the only second generation BPO guy that I know because my dad was a VP of operations with a company way back in the day. And that's how I got started. But I came up through
Your
the
blood.
old days of peel and stick outbound and then saw the evolution of dumb terminals and everything between. Started in operations, and then over time that led into developing a couple of BPOs for some investors and going internationally and a lot of experiences that I never imagined, being a small town Iowa kid. These days, um, I coach college softball as well. And that's kind of a spare time thing we get into a little bit later, but at the University of Incarnate Word in San Antonio. Go Cards, right? I've recently locked arms with a great company, Response BPO, out of South Africa. And so my mission these days is really just educating people on South Africa and how great the experience was there when I recently visited and just kind of growing the BPO space that way.
Excellent. Josh, I know that we're connected on LinkedIn. We also serve on the board for the Austin Contact Center Alliance together, and I've loved seeing your posts from your trip abroad.
Mhm.
Your recent trip abroad, and I mean, one, it's a beautiful country, but two, the uh, you know the lens that the South African workforce looks at their jobs with.
Mhm.
The one clip that you showed of the team in the morning doing like some exercises or something just to kind of
Mhm.
get loose and everything. I love the passion that you bring for the teams over there bring towards their job and the work that they do. So
Right.
we'll get into that here in a second. But
Sure.
first of all, let's go ahead and start off talking a little bit about you. And you've had, like I said, you've had a 25-year plus career in the BPO space. BPO and call center is definitely in your blood,
Sure.
literally and figuratively. Um, and what I'd like, is to get some of your feedback on this. Is at this point in my career, I wish I could go back and tell my younger self this X, whatever it is. And how would it have adjusted the trajectory for your career or changed it in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah. Good question. And there's so many, right? As you look back over a career that's 2.5 decades, or even growing up and being younger, and all the things that you wish you would have listened to. But first of two, really, my quick one-liner I learned from a mentor of mine a few years ago is you can't unflush a toilet, right? And that's just my funny one. And the reason behind that really is once something happens, it's done. And so
Mhm.
if you're worried about being able to reverse what's done, you're wasting time. It's how you react to things. And so this is what happened. What are we going to do moving forward with it, right? And just work from there. I say that a lot. Just work from where you are. The second thing, really, to my younger self, is bet on yourself at the earliest possible moment that you can, because
Mhm.
there's never ever in life going to be a good time to fail. And so get started. If you wait and let that be your starting line of waiting for the best time in life to fail, you are never going to get started. And so
Mhm.
as you grow up, there's going to be other responsibilities and other things that you add to life. And so bet on yourself at the earliest possible moment you can and work from there.
I love it. I love it. Josh, I mean, as a parent also, you know, one of the things that we both probably heard, is there was never a right time to become a parent.
Right.
Uh, and as an entrepreneur, as someone that has started some businesses and been involved with some startups in the past, there's never a right time to just jump in um, and say, okay, let's go ahead and do this thing. It's just you just got to make up the decision that you can fail forward.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
100%, a hundred
Right.
percent. And those failures are never ending points. They're just hurdles to moving to the next phase. And so,
Hmm.
you're going to fail in life. You're going to fail at certain things you're doing. And so, failing forward is an exact term that you should use. I like that.
Yeah. I also like the phrase that you brought up. You can never unflush a toilet. I may steal that from you at some point in time.
It's not mine originally. I borrowed it, so you can certainly have it and use it as you wish.
I could see as a softball coach, talking to an infielder that just boots a ball, and stop flushing toilets. Can't unflush it.
That's it.
Uh,
That's gone. You sit and worry about that air. The ball's rolling away and they're still running. So
yep,
you just have to
exactly.
have that what next mentality and keep going.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like we alluded to towards the beginning, we y- you and I tend to gravitate towards topics around contact centers and the outsourcing industry in particular. And one of the things that I'd love to get your perspective on is, over the last, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, I mean, of your experience in the industry, um, what are some of the most significant changes that you've seen change in the BPO landscape, whether that be, how they operate or areas they operate in, regions that they operate in? What are some of the things that you've seen or could share?
Yeah. I keep trying to motivate myself to write a book because sometimes I feel like I'm from the days of using a chisel and rocks to communicate, right? So I've literally seen every part of this space and been lucky enough to do it in so many different countries. And so, um, technology obviously wins for the biggest, not only how the call handling, but just the elimination of borders and geography, the reach alone.
Mm-hmm.
You can truly source the best talent. And where, starting in my career, the company I worked for had 92 centers in the US,
Hmm.
13 alone just in Western Iowa, because they're trying to find every little great community of talent where we can hire people because you
Yes.
literally had to be on site and captured there. And so now with remote available and being more widely accepted, and then the cost of entry so low, you can truly source talent in every part of the world. And so I think that's a huge change for the industry.
Yeah. Are there things that different regions tend to specialize in? Not disparaging
Yeah.
any one region versus another, but some of the things that I've kind of heard is if in certain areas, if you need more of a transactional agent, you go one place, or if you
Mhm.
need someone that's more of a critical thinker, you may want to go another place. If you want somebody that is focused on that um, uh, I want to say customer centricity,
Mhm.
but it's almost like you're dealing with a resort
Yep.
mentality. What are some of the things that some of the changes and things that you're seeing? Are there certain regions that are better for certain types of work versus another type of work?
There are. It used to be really just a hunch and experience and being on site and really experiencing those. And early in my career, I was like, well, that regionally doesn't make sense. If you train somebody to do something, they could do it, right? But no,
Yeah.
the cultural makeup truly does matter. And so, experiencing that physically over the years in various locations, I started to believe it. And then now, again, back to our last question, technology has allowed
Mm.
us to do so many different surveys and questions and tests that people take, and we can really learn about them, culturally and just how they think and how they react. And so, absolutely, there are certain programs that I would put in a Mexico or somewhere like that, or of course South Africa, for example, which to me has what I've seen is the most complete agents with very, very high ranked fifth out of 122 countries in emotional intelligence. So
Mm.
really, really great cultural makeup to put many different types of programs. So there are some where you would steer just specific ones, and some, like I said, in South Africa, where I would be comfortable with any program.
Yeah. I know that from what as I'm talking to different people in the industry, that there's almost a shift, and not a major shift because I think it's still a viable destination. Philippines,
Mhm.
Southeast Asia versus um, versus other area. Some folks moving. Um, projects away from that area and putting them into, either South Central
Mhm.
America or South Africa, or somewhere in there. Um, and do you think the reason is being because there's you got your five tool players
Mhm.
sitting in South Africa really.
Yeah.
They have that high level of emotional intelligence. Not that the other regions don't, and again, not disparaging any other
Mhm.
region in any way, shape, or
Sure.
form. But do you think that's why that there's been almost like an awakening, of why to move projects into South Africa versus others?
Yeah, I think it comes first. It's a matter of convenience, and so first, South Africa is not new to the BPO space. It's new to like U.S. and our awareness of that region. The UK has been using South Africa widely for several years, many years, and
Hmm.
there's tens of thousands of agents that are active now with great companies and large brands, and so it's more of U.S. awareness, right? So conveniently, we've had Mexico and we've had other closer countries we can go to and outsource and still get good levels of English and education, that sort of thing. And
Hmm.
then the Philippines, of course, kind of became a an alternative to India and the
Yep.
different things that they can do there versus in that region. And then
Hmm.
I think now we've been operating in those countries as the U.S. for so long that there becomes a saturation point where you do fall off and have a degradation of performance. And so, where could I take that bottom third of my performers?
Hmm.
And unfortunately and fortunately, it's taken so long to discover South Africa for the U.S., but it is truly an incredible place to put agents. So I'm really excited about that, and I think
Yeah.
that's just why that's changed. It's really just been as we expand our ring in the U.S., that's the
Hmm.
next really great location that we can operate in.
It's interesting. You talked about saturation, in certain regions, and that was that and cost,
Mhm.
was a big reason why a lot of the outsourcing industry, really was born and exploded in the 90s and early 2000s, I would
Right.
say.
Yeah.
Because it was no longer viable just to have a center sitting in like Austin, Texas,
Hmm.
because the cost of living in Austin, Texas versus what you needed to pay, someone in like you were talking about rural Iowa to do the same
Hmm.
exact job.
Yeah.
Um, as an outsourcer, I mean, it made good common sense, or dollars and cents, as the case may be.
Right. Right.
Um, and the quality of work was just as good, if not better,
Mhm.
in a lot of those areas.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So as a leader of people, also,
Mhm.
you've done, you've married, you married, you've managed frontline
I have done
agents.
that too.
Yes, you are married too.
I've done that.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's all
Got it.
good.
We're good.
And you've managed frontline agents, you've managed frontline managers and senior level folks as well. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges that leaders today are facing than they did, maybe not just pre-pandemic, but even 10, 15 years ago?
Hmm. I think the the biggest thing here lately is, you know, as we got into the pandemic and now certainly out of it,
Hmm.
the same technology that has allowed us to expand, eliminate borders, and find incredible talent is also a two-way street.
Yeah.
So people also have now more choices for employment than they ever had before. Where,
Hmm.
do I want to drive more than 30 minutes or an hour, or where do I really want to live, and can I find good work there and stuff like that? That's not an issue anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
there are certain skills, of course, that you can work, without borders. And so the burden of leaders is we have to recognize that, and we have to say what makes them want to stay here.
Mm.
And I can tell you from doing surveys for many, many years in a row as an operator and leading thousands of agents,
Yeah.
money was never number one on their list. Uh,
I love it.
it was always three, year after year after year after year. Money was three or four, and
Mm.
it was always about environment. What is my growth? Who are my leaders? How do I feel? Like, am I stable? That type of
Hmm.
stuff. And then they got into money, compensation, vacation, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was really always about keeping them engaged. And so more than ever, because now they're not physically there, I
Hmm.
can't motivate them. I can't pat them on the back that way. We have to find these virtual environments and ways to stay connected. And again, we have great technology that can do that, but it takes a real big effort because we can get into a mindset of just set it and forget it and expect our people are just out there working. But we're all humans. And when we're in isolation, we can't always motivate ourselves. And so we have to find ways to stay connected.
I love that, and I was just wanted to kind of pick your brain here on
Mm-hmm.
this, as well as what are some strategies for engagement that you've seen that have been really effective, with reducing attrition or turnover,
Mm-hmm.
within some of the shops.
Yeah, aside from obviously making sure, digitally you're connected and you have the right chat rooms and everything in place while they're doing the work to feel supported, it's about still making sure we have all those other committees surrounding us, right? Have the book club that meets every couple weeks or once a month. Have
Hmm.
a fitness club. And let agents or let people still lead those areas and
Hmm.
share those committees, because then they're still belonging. They still have a sense of something outside of I'm just here
Hmm.
doing the transactional work. And so, and again, keep the if you've created online universities or other learning LMS systems for your people, continue those opportunities, and also make sure that you're spending a time allowing them to get out in the communities and do good work as well, so they can still feel a part of their communities. Because remember, they're in their homes the majority
Yes.
of their day serving you, and then with their families or whatever else they do. So, help them get out into the communities and still have human interaction with people. If you're not a local business that can get everybody together.
Yeah, I think that last part is so critical. Remembering the human-centric
Mm-hmm.
component of the work that we do. I mean, yes, if we're working 40 hours a week, I mean, that's a third of our total week that we spend
Mm-hmm.
working, if not more, not including the prep and everything, and hopefully another third, sleeping,
Yeah.
relaxing, whatever. And then that leaves a lot less time, if you put it in perspective, for people to do the things that really matter to them.
Yeah.
Uh, and I love that sentiment about, really encouraging people to get out into the communities where they live, where they go to school, where they work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that
Yep.
that creates that engagement,
Yep.
as well.
Yeah. And just make sure that you're paying attention as leaders and as companies. It's nothing for a company. Yeah, speaking for myself, nobody go to their leaders, but it's nothing for a company to say, hey, once a quarter we'll sponsor you to play on a sand volleyball team or what. My
Mhm.
wife and I do that once a week. It costs us each like not even $60 a season to play.
Yeah.
And but it gets out. We get with people. And you do that stuff. And there's all kinds of other activities. It doesn't have to be that, but companies really need to focus in those areas to make sure that their people are engaged and feeling supported.
Well, and look at you as an example. You're not just a BPO professional, a BPO leader,
Mhm.
but you're also coaching college softball. You know,
Yeah.
at the Division I collegiate level, and for the company that you work for to be supportive of that, I mean that's a great hat tip for an organization to say, okay, yeah, go explore your passions,
Hmm.
you
Yeah. Yeah, I've been lucky to be able to explore some of those things and have a family, of course, that you know behind the scenes we're a softball family, we're an athletic family. Aside from my son, uh, who's football, soft or track, he wouldn't let me say he's a softball guy. So, but it's something we love, and so it's easy to kind of ingrain into our fun and free time, and they're so supportive. And we were fortunate enough when I'm away from home, a lot of our games were on streaming online or on TV, and so my family still got to be a part of it. And um, but yes, Response BPO, supporting me and able to do this as well. They understand that it's about the work and it's about making sure that we're accomplishing the goals that we need to, but also it's important to give back so much. And so, giving back and spending time with the 26 girls that we have on the team and the other coaches, it's really fulfilling and also teaches me a lot that I translate both ways, right? There's things that I teach them and talk to them, and you gave me a great recommendation for somebody to come speak to the team this last season as well. And at the same time, I take things that I learned down there and just stay grounded in working with young people that I
know.
apply in my professional life, and it really works well both ways. And I'm fortunate like that.
I love that because um, I was fortunate when my boys were younger. I've never coached at the level that you coached at, but to coach youth sports, especially in that 5, 6, 7, 8 year old, you know,
Hmm.
where, in baseball, they don't know you know, they don't know what a ground ball versus a fly ball is half the time.
Hmm.
Um, and but being able to see the kids get it,
Yeah.
and being able to translate that aha moment from what you're able to do with kids and the tactics and strategies that you use, teaching a young kid to understand a new skill, and then you're able to bring that same level of patience and passion into the
Hmm.
workplace and be able to impart that same passion for the work that's being done. Nothing more fulfilling than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been so fun. And even seeing the next evolution of that now, like from the aha moment as little kids, and what you described, I've had some kids now graduate this last year from college and they're connecting with me on LinkedIn and starting their professional internships and asking me questions about, finance things and stuff they're facing. And so I get to kind of help transition them as well into their professional careers. And it's just so fun to do.
And those are and let's talk a little bit about relationships, because those are lifelong relationships that have now
Mhm.
been created, that you become not just you've gone from being their coach and um, um, developer during school, but now you're their life coach in some way, shape, or form, where you're able to help them understand, hey, you don't always have to get the last word in, during an argument,
Yeah.
or you don't always have to be right, and it's okay to take some bumps and bruises, because those are going to create more opportunities for you in the future.
Mhm.
um, so and at the core of our industry, relationships matter, and being
Yeah.
able to teach that to these kids, to the kids that the young ladies that you coach, that relationships do matter. It's not boyfriend girlfriend 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 boyfriend boyfriend or anything like
Mhm.
that, but it's really the human
Mhm.
relationships that are
Yep.
gonna last forever. So.
Yep. 100%.
Yep. Well, any tips for how folks, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, any tips for how like aspiring leaders or people just starting out in their careers can create individual professional development or networking opportunities for themselves? Any recommendations?
Yeah, there are, again, it's about getting connected, as we discussed earlier. But, if you're looking specifically to try to grow in your leadership, it really is getting involved, finding someone that you want to go in their direction and just ask. I know I made the mistakes as a young professional. I was too prideful to ask for a mentor, right? Like, um, who's going to tell me what to do, right? Like, I'm finding all the answers myself and doing just fine. So, dumbest thing I ever did. So, you know, having a mentor, whether it's your personal professional mentor, you're starting a business and it's a business mentor, something like that, it just
Mhm.
helps you kind of stay guided and grounded, and hopefully someone that'll speak to you clearly. The other thing is to find great organizations to get involved in, like an ACCA or any other number of whatever industry you're in. Get involved, because there are so many great relationships you'll meet, or make, and opportunities to get involved and meet and see so many other companies and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Networking industry events, those are very valuable, and follow up. Don't just go and hang out and be like, that was cool. Really make connections, remember names, send follow-ups, be that person that's different. And
Mhm.
the same guy that taught me you can't unflush a toilet said, 99% of life is just showing up.
Yeah.
And so, show up, be present, be early, all the good, sanitational things. And that really sticks out. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, anytime I hear quotes, I always think of Yogi Berra quotes. Um,
Yeah.
100% of the game is 50% mental or something like that. And
Yeah.
for some folks, networking, it's very, very stressful, but being able to take that first step, and just saying, okay, I'm going to go show up and I'm going to talk to one person or two
Mhm.
people, and find out a little there's a stigma around networking that I think a lot of people have had, where you have to be there and be there for a purpose, and you
Yeah.
have to be there to offer something, and it's like, no, get back to the human relationships. We've been stuck in our homes
Mhm.
for a couple of years. Now, over the last year or so, people have been venturing out and a lot more, but go be human again.
Yeah, I've been in that room where you walk in and things are already kind of buzzing and going and people are engaged and you're like, man, where am I going to jump in here, right? And so it just goes down to human. Just say hi to somebody. And and everybody typically has had somebody that's been important in their career and in their life, and they want to pass that on as well. So, don't be as afraid to ask somebody, hey, would you meet with me once a month or whatever, and just kind of let me tell you where I'm going and you provide me some feedback, right? That's certainly acceptable. And if they say no, okay, you probably
Yeah.
know other people that could do just the same. So just don't be afraid to get started and ask.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, we've gotten to the point in our conversation, Josh, where I
Mhm.
call it the speed round.
Yeah,
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All
I'm ready.
right. All
I don't know how
right.
fast I'll be, but I'm long-winded.
It's all good. It's more about the content, not necessarily the speed.
There you go.
So what interesting fact about you would people be surprised to learn about?
I think we talked so much about all our professional stuff going on today. It might be surprising because, but I have five amazing children, and a beautiful wife. But my kids are aged 2 to 21. So,
Oh my
um,
gosh. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. The 2-year-old probably runs the whole organization.
all of it, all of it.
All of
She
it.
knows it, and she now can climb out of her crib. So she even runs what time she decides she goes to sleep. So,
Yes.
yeah, she's running everything.
She's got no fear.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. Mm. So after a stressful day, whether it's coaching softball or just any type of stressors that life throws at us, what's your go-to tactic for unwinding after a stressful day?
For me, it's one, just kind of remembering, all that was accomplished in that day. And you have to look back and, you know, try to compartmentalize the feeling versus the actions, right? So, yeah, that day was stressful. Did I make it stressful? Was it just stressful because it was busy? Was it good stressful? And really
Mhm.
making sure that you're understanding those feelings. But beyond all that, I'm really fortunate enough to have a hot tub and a wife who who likes to hang out and be an incredible supporter. And so, oftentimes, we meet out back at the end of the day, might be the first time we see each other for the day,
Mhm.
over some wine and just good conversation. We just kind of unwind the day and talk about kids or whatever it is. So, that part's important to me. And I do a lot of family stuff, so that's how we unwind a lot.
Yeah. I knowing you for as long as we've known each other. I mean, it's been, 10, 12 years that we've known each other. Um, I, family has always been at the forefront of
Yeah.
every conversation that we've had, and I love and respect that about you, for
Thank you.
sure.
Thanks.
Um, so if someone wants to pick your brain about the work that you do, with response BPO, or the BPO world just in general, just wants to have
Mhm.
a one-on-one conversation with you. Um, if you're going to be attending conferences or different events and things like that, what's the best way that they can go ahead and get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite and the best way to get a hold of me is just to come join me in the backyard for some smoked ribs or some wings or something like that. And I typically post some pictures. If you need any references, just come on back and we'll hang out and talk. But if you're not in town, obviously LinkedIn is a great way. I spend a lot of time on there. I always try to keep any conferences or anything I'm going to, but feel free to always connect or reach out. I respond and love to talk to people as well. And then you can email me, of course, at josh@response-bpo.com. And
Awesome.
and I'll respond to you there, and of course maybe see you at an ACCA symposium this fall. So that's another way
Yes.
we can connect, and would love to see you there. So, Mark, I certainly appreciate you having me here today, and it's been a great conversation, and certainly would love to do it again whenever you need it.
Hey, Josh, I love anytime we get a chance to talk. I'm looking for the pictures of the ribs because it is Fourth of July weekend coming up. So I'm looking for those.
Uh-huh.
But Josh, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule,
Sure.
to have some coffee talk with me, and looking forward to many, many more conversations with you. Um, you know, uh, short term, long term, and
Mhm.
if anybody wants an introduction to Josh, I mean, feel free to reach out to me. I have no problem with introducing you to Josh. He's great just to even just have a conversation with him. Some of the life experiences that he's had, I mean, are just awesome, and
Mhm.
some of the things that he's done both personally and professionally, are pretty cool. So, Josh, once again, thank you very much. I appreciate you every single day, and I look forward to next conversation.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Mark.
All right, thank you.